Alright, this video we're going to look at these JRL cars. I like to call these the heavy versions. These are the ones that came out in the early 90s with the thick plastic bodies. There's a white version of it right there. This one's a lot more rare to find. And then there's the red car. This one was more common in this format. Just a review of it. It's got good suspension, you can see here. It runs off these 7.2 volt battery packs. This one's kind of beat up, so a good car. It has 2 speeds, kind of a fast and then a turbo, and then it has digital proportional steering, which made it really good for good handling. All right, from here we'll flip it over and we'll pop in the battery. The battery compartment's on the bottom of these ones. Kind of a pain point sometimes with these and is the battery door holder. The door lock sticks down at the bottom and it can get caught sometimes on rocks and curbs and cracks in sidewalks. That'll get caught, so that's kind of a little design flaw with them, but no big deal. So we'll pop in the battery on this. And it's the 7.2 volt battery. Put the wire in there. Don't recommend for longevity the 9.6 volts, though they'll fit on the heavies or on the JRL heavies. It's just a lot of weight. They'll burn out the controller, the speed controller. If you want to run these on the 9.6 volts, they run a heck of a lot better. But I would modernize the electronics in there, and I'll show you how to do that in a later video. But for now, it's 7.2 volt. Let me put this up on some blocks. All right. Power this thing up. Power switch is on the bottom. Okay, I got this car powered up, and the controller on this, they came in several different bands. This is band 1. It's at 26.995 megahertz, and like I said, there's a lot of other bands that are available, so you could run these cars with a lot of other ones. It has the digital proportional steering, and it also has, you could set the center with it as well using this button here. And then it has a forward, and then there's 2 speed settings on it, and you have your reverse gear. These cars, after a while, they get a little bit jumpy. The steering, they're okay. I mean, you get to a point, you know, this is basically a 20-something-year-old toy. And from the video, which I shot earlier in the day where I was out, you'll see the tire fly off. But but you know, it's just an older car. But overall, it's a fun car. This one will hit close to 16 to 18 miles an hour, so it's a pretty quick car. Again, it's a heavy body, so that's about all you're going to get out of these. And I'll show you a little later in a later video how to even convert this over to a light body, and that is the to find these Lexan bodies here, ultra light, and this car really picks up some speed once you've done that. But for what this is, it's a fun car to play with. I'd say keep these ones at the 7.2 volts. They'll last way longer. They just got a little too much weight for running them with any higher voltage. And I'll just show you the insides of one of these. Okay, now to show you the inner workings of that. For that, we gotta take it apart. A couple screws. I mean, owning one of these, I think after you use it a couple times, you got to break these down anyways, because they get filled with they just pick up everything like vacuum cleaners, leaves, dirt, you name it. Everything just gets caught up inside of it. And one thing you got to watch is the servo controller. The servo controller will pick up that dust and it will fail on you. So you have to make sure you keep that clean. And I'll show you where that is, because that is one of the first things that pretty much fails on all of these cars, is that servo controller. Or if you break a bumper, you hit a curb one time in this thing, they're heavy, that bumper in the front will shatter, especially now that they're, you know, almost 30 years old. Let's go over, make sure we have 2, 4, 5, one more in there. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so basically it just pops out like that. You can see the body shell. Alright, here's the inner workings of a JRL. Circuit board hides in this box, sort of protected from the elements. Here's your spring up front. And there's a single spring with an aluminum motor tray in the back here. Areas you want to try to keep clean when you do maintenance on these is try to keep this clean. I usually do not put grease on this, because if you put grease on this, it picks up dust, and the dust sticks in there, and then it just eats away at your brass gear here. So just basically keep this free of dirt. Don't grease these this gear here, because like I said, it is exposed to the elements. Stuff gets in there, and rocks will stick. Rocks, sand will stick to that grease. This is a Mubachi 380 motor. This is probably the best motor for this car. I've tried a lot of different brand motors out there. None of them perform as well as the original stock motor, so don't go down that road. I tried them all. This is the best motor for this car, and this motor will take up to 12 volts, but not with a heavy. You'll want to switch over to the Lexan body, because it makes this car extremely light doing that. Now, sorry, I had a phone call there. Where was I? Yeah, talking about this Mubachi 380 motor. So like I said, this will take 12 volts, no problem, with the lighter chassis. Here's the motor controller here. You want to be really careful with these. I'd say every 2 or 3 times you use this, take the car apart, clean it, and put a dielectric grease on this. I'll go ahead and fire this up so you can kind of see it in action. So as you can see, that spins as you move up on the controller, and this will activate the motor. And then reverse. Now you don't want to reverse too much, especially when it's stuck. If it gets stuck, don't reverse. You'll burn out this resistor here, because this actually is a reversing resistor. Use it as a current limiter. And you usually smell a burning smell from this car. It's usually that resistor. Another good tip is when you clean this, clean the gear set here with alcohol. Don't get it inside the gear set, but just the outside. You don't want to have grease on the outside of this gear here. There it is. If you have grease on this, it will pick up dirt, sand, rocks. It sticks in the gear, and it'll chew up both the plastic and your copper. Copper gear here. Now here's your steering. It is proportional. You do get a lot of these cars that have some servo bounce to them. I haven't really found a fix for that. I find it's just easier to replace the electronics in these. But if you're keeping it original, that's going to be something that kind of lingers, is this little bit of bounce you get. Like I say, and these cars move. You know, this, like I said, this will get to, 16 to 18 miles an hour, and this little bit of a bounce can be really annoying, because the car will tend to kind of snake around on you. I have some JRL cars that are perfect, and some like this one that just have that little bit of bounce. And then when you get, the range in these 100 feet, but usually sometimes it's a little less than that. And what will happen was it'll go into runaway. If I shut this controller off, well, sometimes it'll do it. You'll just get into a runaway situation. So, controller's off, it's going to go full bore. And that happened a lot. You get out of range and the thing just takes off and keeps going. When these get out of range, they just lose their mind. And that's when I smash bumpers, when it takes off down the street, hits a curb, and you lose control. Another reason why to upgrade with these old systems here. None of this is transferable. It has the older style 5-wire for the servo controller. The great thing though about this is the steering controller here is standard size, so it'll fit any type of servo steering that's out on the market. You just have to come up with a way to stick the new servo here. I use shoe glue, so I stick it there and it's good enough, and you can always tear it off later. It's not a permanent type glue. Again, I like to put the new controllers on these, and then you can run the higher voltage and not worry about damaging these. If you change this over to new electronics, you can run the 9.6 in the heavies. And if you switch over to the Lexan, you can take them up to 12 volts if you like. I've also run LiPo batteries in the Lexans. They get hot, you have to be careful, and I usually mount a fan on the motor, but it'll work because they're a lot lighter. So, hope this helped you out. It's a good car. It's a lot of fun. Just a little bit of maintenance to perform on these. Keeping this clean, keeping the motor set or the gear set here clean, and it should be lots of hours of fun. So. As with a lot of old toys, you experience mishaps like this. Tire fell off. Let's see here. Probably catch this with a little bit of super glue later. Let's pop this in and take it out for another spin.